Are you a first-time home buyer considering using an FHA loan to purchase a home? Maybe you're considering FHA because they allow a lower down payment and lower credit scores. Well, in today's video, we're going to dive into that in a little bit more detail. We're going to tell you exactly what credit scores you need with what down payments, and also why it might not be as easy to qualify for an FHA loan as you might think. Before we get into that though, I want to make one thing clear. FHA loans are not just for first-time home buyers or those with lower credit scores. They can be used by anybody looking to purchase a home. But typically, if you have a lower down payment, maybe you have a little bit more debt, you need more lenient guidelines, FHA is a really good fit. So make sure if you're considering using an FHA loan, you stay to the end where we go over all the FHA requirements and help guide you through that process. My name is Jeb Smith. I'm a real estate broker here in Southern California. Do me a favor, if you find any value in this content at all, hit that thumbs up and feel free to subscribe if you want to stay updated on loan programs and other information that will help guide you through the real estate process. So as I mentioned at the beginning of the video, a lot of people choose FHA loans because they allow a lower down payment and they also allow lower credit scores. Well, in order to qualify for an FHA loan, you need to have at least a 500 credit score. Now that seems really, really low, right? Well, it is. And that's why if you're using an FHA loan and you have below a 580 credit score, so anywhere between a 500 and a 579, FHA requires that you have a 10% down payment. Now you're probably confused because you've heard that FHA only requires a 3.5% down payment. Well, they do, but you have to have at least a 580 credit score or better. Now you might be watching this thinking, well, I do have above a 580 credit score and I've tried to qualify for an FHA loan and they've told me that my credit scores is still too low even above that 580 number. So understand, FHA puts out guidelines, but they don't actually lend any money. They're just the backer. They're a government-sponsored agency that backs the loans. Lenders actually do the financing on those loans. So what happens is you go into your local bank or you find a mortgage broker, they qualify you, and then they end up selling the loan to another lender. That lender essentially sells that loan off to FHA. So FHA backs it, but they're not the ones lending the money. The reason I bring this up is because the lenders that are actually the ones lending the money oftentimes put overlays on their programs. So while FHA says, hey, you can have a 580 credit score, that lender that's loaning the money might say, no, we need at least a 640 credit score in order to do that loan. Why do they do this? A lot of people have questions. Well, if FHA says they'll do it, why aren't lenders doing it? Just because they become more risky loans. They're harder to sell on the secondary market sometimes with the lower credit scores. They're a higher risk, and therefore lenders want to mitigate any potential losses, any potential risk, and therefore they put these overlays on the programs which require higher credit scores. Now, at the beginning of the video, I mentioned that we're going to talk about why it might be harder to qualify for an FHA loan than what their guidelines allow, and that's because of these overlays, but it's also because they're going to take additional factors into play when loaning that money. Not only are they looking at the down payment and the credit score, they're also looking at your debt to income ratio. That is how much money you make versus your monthly debts. And so even though you have lower credit scores and you have the down payment, you still have to be able to qualify based on their guidelines. Now, FHA is one of the more lenient loan programs out there where they allow higher debt to income ratios. So they allow you to use more of your gross monthly income, more of your monthly income towards debt. And in my experience, those that have lower credit scores, those that have lower down payment, typically don't have the 10% needed, once you drop below that 580 credit score, and have the ability to qualify based on that debt to income ratio. Typically, there's a reason that you have lower credit scores, right? There's a reason that you don't have the large down payment in some of these cases, and that's why it's harder to qualify. In addition, FHA also has higher interest rates for those lower credit scores, which also makes it harder to qualify because it's going to make your monthly payment more, which is going to mean more monthly debt, raising that debt to income ratio. So all of those factors in right there make it very, very difficult for someone with lower credit scores to qualify for an FHA loan. In addition to that, as I mentioned earlier, the lenders out there with their overlays and all of these additional things added to the program, there's a lot of lenders out there that actually just don't even do these loans because of that. So if you're looking for a lender that does the lower credit score loans, do me a favor, reach out, hit that link below. I'll refer you to somebody that does them and you can actually see if you qualify. Now you could be the unicorn out there that has, the 10% down, the lower debt to income ratio, and something just happened where, your credit got really affected and you weren't able to recover, therefore you have a lower credit score. But typically, in my experience, what I see is those with lower credit scores are behind on their payments. They don't necessarily have the money for that 10% down payment. And, because of the debt to income ratio requirements, they're not able to meet the guidelines needed in order to actually qualify for an FHA loan. So while FHA does allow lower credit scores, that 500 to 579, in my experience, I don't see a lot of people actually meet those qualifications because of what goes into it. Now, as I mentioned earlier, FHA also has a 3.5% down payment option when you have a credit score higher than 580. Many lenders out there at the moment aren't really doing, a lot of loans under the 640 threshold. Now there are lenders out there that are doing them, just not the majority of them out there. So it may be a little bit more difficult to find a lender that will actually do an FHA loan when you have less than that 640 credit score. But keep in mind, you also have to be able to qualify based on the debt to income requirements. Now, FHA is a little bit more lenient, right? They allow you to go upwards of 57% debt to income ratio. So keep that in mind if you're out there looking. Now you're probably asking, well, what am I supposed to do if I have lower credit scores and, I can't find a lender that will do it, or maybe I have below a 580 and I don't have that 10% down. Unfortunately, you don't have a lot of options at that point. You either need to work on your credit score, try to get your credit score up, or save more money for a down payment. And working on your credit score is going to benefit you more than saving for a down payment. If you have at least a 3.5% down, you have enough money to do an FHA loan. Credit score is where you will see the biggest impact with regards to your monthly payment. If you can get your credit score higher, especially higher than that 640 number, the higher you can get it, the better your loan's going to be. In fact, you'll get better interest rates than those out there doing conventional loans, putting 5-10% down in many cases, because FHA is a government-backed agency, and because of that, they offer lower interest rates. So if you can work on getting your credit score higher, you're going to see a bigger improvement with regards to your interest rate. You're going to see your ability to qualify for more home go up. You're actually going to get a much, much better loan than trying to save for a higher down payment, especially if you have those lower credit scores. So work on credit, get those credit scores up. If you're wondering how to get your credit score up, do me a favor, there's a link in the description below. You can check that out. It takes you to another video where you can get some more information on how to boost your scores. But, that's where I would start if I was considering using an FHA loan and had the lower credit scores and really couldn't qualify at this time. But if you're wondering about FHA requirements, what are the other requirements? How can I qualify? Do me a favor, check out this video here. I dive into it in a little bit more detail. But for now, I appreciate you taking the time to watch. I appreciate all the support. Hope to see you again soon. Have a great day. Bye-bye.